Perfect, 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 perfect.
Hey, what's going on, guys? CJ here, back with another movie review. This time, rolling solo. Going to be talking about Anaconda, the recent movie that is sort of it's a sequel in a way, to the original 1997 film. Um, it's very weird. Uh, I remember months ago seeing a trailer for this film, and I was really sitting back like, initially the trailer at the beginning, I was like, they're doing the sequel to Anaconda, even though we had like two direct to DVD sequels, but whatever, right? Then as I saw the premise that the trailer is presenting of this film, I was just like, huh, interesting. Um, what this movie does isn't anything new. Uh, the Matrix, not Revolutions, Revelations, or Regeneration, whatever the last Matrix movie that came out was a film that was sort of like a tongue-in-cheek sequel that kind of did a resolution to what happened at the end of the third Matrix film. But it was also critiquing modern filmmaking and such, right? So this movie, Anaconda, does the same thing in a weird way. Um, and it's actually genuinely funny in a very silly way. Um, Paul Rudd and Jack Black, they play two friends, Ronald and Doug. Doug, played by Jack Black, is a wedding videographer, and Ronald, played by Paul Rudd, is a background actor. Um, and the basic premise around it is like those two, alongside their friend Kenny, played by Steve Zahn, and Claire, played by Thandie Newton. When they were teenagers, they made an indie movie, and it really kind of emboldened them to want to push forward with their dreams. And Ronald ends up being the one that goes to Hollywood, and even though he's a background actor, in his mind it's like, hey, I made it, I'm in Hollywood, I got it, right? And Doug, meantime, he's a wedding videographer, which isn't necessarily the job that he really thought in his head that he was going to be doing. um but he's doing it, and through a situation where Ronald has the rights to the Anaconda franchise, he ends up spurring on Doug, Kenny, and Claire to go with them down to the Amazon to film a sequel to Anaconda. Um, as I said before, this movie is very silly, top to bottom. It's silly. The jokes, they do land, but there are other times where the jokes don't land. Um, the camaraderie more so. If anything, this movie kind of reminds me, at least, just seeing, just the way the movie, the characters are interacting with each other, it kind of reminds me of Jumanji, the recent two movies that came out with The Rock and, funny enough, Jack Black and Kevin Hart. And what I mean by that is like the camaraderie between all four of the characters. They're all clearly close friends, and it really shows in their interactions with one another. But more than anything else, because of this, you get the sort of quirks with them. Like Steve Zahn's character, Kenny, he's very aloof. He's very just not there. He's stupid pretty much. But the situations that his character gets put in, Steve Zahn does a really great job of really like making it worth your while. He's going to get some laughs out of you. And that goes double for Jack Black and Paul Rudd. They definitely go for it. Like I said, some of the jokes land, some of the jokes are just kind of went a little bit longer than normal. Thandie Newton is playing the straight man in all this. Clearly, you need somebody that's going to be there to kind of like tell you how ridiculous this all is and stuff. But once you get past that and you realize that this movie is a sort of sequel to Anaconda, in a very weird way, um, ultimately you appreciate it. It kind of reminded me of another movie again, Jack Black, bringing him up. He did a movie years ago where it was him and Mos Def called Be Kind Rewind. And the basic premise of it was just surrounding the fact that through weird circumstances, the videotapes inside this video store that Jack Black and Mos Def work at, they're all erased. So now Mos Def and Jack Black gotta go out and recreate the movies from the ground up indie style and stuff. And it kind of brings the neighborhoods together and stuff and really a celebration of movies. Same thing here, just on a sort of bigger budget, so to speak. Because we're talking about a movie that clearly when they went into it, this was you could have named this movie something that wasn't Anaconda and it would have still worked. But they do make it worthwhile of kind of sort of, you know, taming your expectations of what this movie really truly is. Um, and once you get a lot of the surprises and stuff and seeing the connections that this movie has to the first Anaconda film, you'll get a good laugh out of it. And there are cameos that you would expect from some of the cast members from the previous Anaconda film, which I'm not going to spoil what those cameos are, but like the way in which they do it, again, at least to me, it's funny. And but I know ultimately some other people might look at this and they'll probably laugh like I did, but they also might raise their eyebrows like, really? Like, all right, but again, that's the nature of what this movie is from start to finish. You ultimately realize that this movie is less concerned with trying to be a legitimate sequel to Anaconda, and it's more of just in a weird way a celebration of that movie, which makes sense somehow. Um, so yeah, you know, I personally will say, yeah, go to theaters and see this movie for sure. I think it does bring a measure of levity and just what happens when you just go for it and just see where it goes. So, um, definitely go check out Anaconda. Again, silly movie, top to bottom. Um, but yeah, yeah. I honestly I don't know what else to really expand on because I'll probably more likely spoil the movie and stuff if I keep going. But definitely go see this movie. I think it's going to be one of those underrated films that I think people in hindsight are going to kind of have conversations on whether it accomplished the goal that it was set out to accomplish. So yeah, Anaconda, simple movie. Definitely check it out. And catch you guys later. Peace.
That boy is Benny Hanna.